guys, what's going on? It's MassiveJoes RAW review, and I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Awesome RAW review for the viewers at home today on one of the most highly anticipated new pre-workout supplement formulations from our good friends at BSN. It is, of course, EndoRUSH in the house. Let's get straight into it, show you guys exactly what's in it, tell you exactly what it's going to do. That nutritional information panel ain't going to get it done. We're about to go balls deep in this here BSN EndoRUSH. Fortunately, got ourselves a big ass nutritional information panel for the viewers at home. Before you cut the panel up, let me just disclaim right from the start that this RAW review, viewers at home, is on the Australian version of BSN EndoRUSH, which I believe is also the European version. The one thing I know for certain is it does vary oh so slightly from the US version, and I believe it's just one ingredient, and when we get to that one ingredient, I'll be sure to tell you guys about it. But this is RAW review on the Australian, possibly also European, I'm not 100% sure, version of BSN EndoRUSH. Let's go balls deep. Serving size 1 scoop, 13.5 grams. Got yourself about 30 of them 1 scoop, 13.5 gram bitches. In one of these EndoRUSH bitches. I think that's a RAW review first right there, viewers at home. I've never actually thrown a tub at the camera before. Anyway, we must press on. 30 of them 1 scoop, 13.5 gram bitches in one of these EndoRUSH bitches. In terms of what the 13.5 grams is made up of, BSN have actually done something they've never done before with a pre-workout formula in this EndoRUSH, and that is gone 100% transparent, full disclosure on their nutritional information panel, which is fantastic because it allows us to really scrutinize every single ingredient and the dosage of every single ingredient in this EndoRUSH, which is fantastic. But the first thing that allows us to do is do a quick summation, a quick addition, add up all of the active ingredients in this EndoRUSH, and we quickly discover that there's 9.89 grams of actives spread across 15 active ingredients, which means we're dealing with 73% active ingredients, 27% flavors, sweeteners, and colors, which is really, really good for a pre-workout. To see above 70% active ingredients is fantastic. Let's go balls deep. Starting from the top with the active ingredients, we're going to skip over the sodium, guys, because it's not in there as an active, it's just a trace element. So we're going to jump right to niacin, which is also known as vitamin B3, and it's in this EndoRUSH as nicotinic acid in the form of niacin they're using, 17.5 grams. Vitamin B3 or niacin boosts energy production, converts carbohydrates into glucose, and is going to help produce energy without the use of stimulants. Also going to help buffer any post-workout crash that you may experience due to high levels of stimulants all at the same time. So kind of levels out the stimulant-based energy with a little bit of non-stimulant-based energy, you know what I'm saying? In terms of the clinical dose of niacin, it's 16 to 20 milligrams. We have 17.5 milligrams. It is perfectly dosed. Moving right along, vitamin C as ascorbic acid in a 200 milligram dose. Most of us are very familiar with vitamin C. Acts as an antioxidant and counteracts reactive oxygen species generated during exercise in particular. It's going to help reduce post-workout soreness and reduce perceived exertion during exercise. The clinical dose of vitamin C to achieve these effects is 400 milligrams right up to 3,000 milligrams. We've got 200 milligrams, so it is quite severely underdosed. Moving right along, we then get into pantothenic acid, aka vitamin B5, as decalcium pantothenate in a 10 milligram dose. This B vitamin also helps boost energy production, similar to vitamin B3, but in addition boosts red blood cell production, and also helps your adrenal hormone production as well, your neurotransmitter production also. Clinical dose for pantothenic acid to get these effects is 5 to 20 milligrams. We've got 10 milligrams, so it's toward the lower end of that dosing range, but still sufficient. Now we can get into all the cool juicy stuff in this EndoRUSH. Starting with their Performance Composite Blend, which begins with creatine monohydrate in a 3-gram dose. Creatine, of course, a precursor to adenosine triphosphate, which is the fuel source that we use in our phosphate energy system. More ATP means more fuel for working muscles, so creatine is going to help increase muscle power, allow you to train harder for longer and stimulate more muscle growth. The clinical dose of creatine monohydrate is, of course, 5 grams. We have 3 grams, so it is quite underdosed, but hold your breath, viewers at home, because there is another form of creatine in this EndoRUSH that we'll get to in a second, which is gonna add to that 3-gram dose and bump it up a little bit. Moving right along, we then get into BetaAlanine as carnosine BetaAlanine, the best BetaAlanine we have seen thus far. In a 1.6 gram dose or 1600 milligram dose, BetaAlanine, of course, increases the concentration of carnosine in working muscles, gonna buffer the buildup of fatigue toxins such as lactic acid and hydrogen ions, and effectively gonna improve muscular endurance, so allow you to train harder for longer. The clinical dose of BetaAlanine, 3.2 grams, we have 50% of that clinical dose, so we would go so far as to say that the BetaAlanine in this EndoRUSH in a single scoop is underdosed. Moving right along, we then get into the black pepper extract, aka bioperine, the registered trademarked version of black pepper extract in a 5 milligram dose. This is in here to enhance the bioavailability of all the active ingredients, of which we've only been through 5 and we've got 10 to go. The clinical dose of bioperine, 5 to 10 milligrams. We have 5 milligrams. It's towards the lower end of that dosing range, but we would go so far as to say it is clinically dosed. Moving on to the pump matrix. Starting with the Velox patented performance blend in a 3-gram dose. Now, this is interesting to me, viewers at home, this Velox blend, because effectively a company has come along and patented a 50-50 split of L-arginine and L-citrulline for use in sports performance. It's amazing the things you can patent these days and the lack of creativity that goes into patentable inventions. But the patent's been granted. Who am I to judge? It's called Velox. It is a 50-50 split of L-arginine and L-citrulline, 2 ingredients which effectively do exactly the same thing. Let me start with L-citrulline first. So I'm going to jump ahead real quick, but talk about these 2 things together because they achieve the same thing. So L-citrulline is a precursor to arginine. And arginine, of course, is the next step down the metabolic chain from citrulline. So you ingest citrulline and it gets converted into arginine, and then you've got some arginine in there as well. Now, what arginine does is it boosts nitric oxide levels, which is going to help improve blood flow, which in turn is going to help increase nutrient delivery to working muscles, improve muscle pumps, and if you're lean enough to get vascular, it's going to improve vascularity as well. So these 2, I mean, it's this Velox really, I did a bunch of research on it because I was like, I must be missing something here. But the problem with L-arginine, and the reason why not a lot of companies use it, is because it breaks down in our gastrointestinal tract and doesn't actually get into the bloodstream as arginine, which is the whole reason why companies moved away from arginine and started putting citrulline in instead, because citrulline does make it through the gastrointestinal tract, gets converted to arginine in our intestine, and then arginine is delivered into the bloodstream. And this company that's patented this Velox did this study where they had L-arginine by itself, and then they had L-arginine in combination with L-citrulline, and found that when you take L-arginine and L-citrulline together, the blood arginine concentration is higher than arginine itself, which is, we know, that's why companies don't use L-arginine anymore and they use L-citrulline. It really is a very, very interesting study that they did, and kind of a redundant study as far as I'm concerned with my knowledge of how nitric oxide boosters work. Anyway, we have, back to the raw review, I'll jump off my soapbox for a second. We have 1.5 grams of L-arginine, we have 1.5 grams of L-citrulline in this Velox 50-50 blend per scoop. The problem is the clinical dose of L-arginine, even though no one uses it anymore, is 3 to 6 grams. The efficacious or clinical dose of L-citrulline is 3 to 4 grams. We've only got 1.5 grams of each of these ingredients in every scoop of EndoRUSH. So no matter how you cut it, and even if you consider the two together as, you know, both of them added together is 3,000 milligrams, which is towards the lower end of how either one of those should be dosed. So no matter how you cut it, unfortunately, the Velox in its own right is underdosed. Moving right along, we then get into creatine nitrate, which I spoke to you guys about when we were talking creatine monohydrate and the fact that that was below the 5,000 milligram clinical dose, only having 3,000 milligrams per scoop. Now, this is where the creatine nitrate comes in. Now, creatine nitrate, viewers at home, is creatine bonded to nitrate, as the name suggests. We have a 1,000 milligram dose. Now, we know based on molecular weight that creatine nitrate yields 67.5% creatine by molecular weight and 32.5% nitrates by molecular weight. So based on that, we're getting another 675 milligrams of free-form creatine to add to the 3,000 milligrams of creatine monohydrate. So we're getting pretty damn close in terms of overall creatine per scoop, pretty damn close to that 5,000 milligram clinical dose of creatine monohydrate, which doesn't yield 100% free-form creatine, remember, viewers at home. Back to the creatine nitrate. In addition to the creatine, we get the 32.5% nitrate, so 325 milligrams of nitrates from this creatine nitrate. Nitrates are really cool. They're a precursor to nitric oxide, but they use a different pathway to arginine and citrulline, which we just discussed. Pathway that they do use is nitrates convert into nitrites in the presence of oral bacteria, so in your mouth, and then the nitrites convert to nitric oxide in the presence of deoxygenated blood in your gastrointestinal tract. So it's a different way of boosting nitric oxide, which works quite well with ingredients that boost it through the arginine pathway, such as citrulline and arginine to a lesser extent. So we can kind of see a little bit of synergism here from BSN with their pump ingredients that are working together to boost nitric oxide from a few different pathways, from a few different angles. The clinical dose of nitrates is 6 to 13 milligrams per kilogram. We only have 325 milligrams in each and every scoop of this EndoRUSH. So even if you take the bottom of that range and you go 6 milligrams, you go 325 milligrams divided by 6, you're talking about someone that weighs 50 kilos, it being clinically dosed. So, you know, most people that are using EndoRUSH are going to weigh more than 50 kilos, and it's towards the lower end of that dosing range. So regardless, we would have to say that the creatine nitrate is also underdosed. Moving right along, we then get into a couple of ingredients that I've never seen used in a pre-workout supplement before. And I had a lot of trouble figuring out why BSN have put them in EndoRUSH. Those two ingredients are, Dilip, throw the panel up on the screen for the viewers, calcium glycerophosphate in 250 milligram dose, and magnesium glycerophosphate, also in a 250 milligram dose. Now, what I could find in my research, and I spent probably an hour trying to dig up something on both of these glycerophosphates for you guys to give you guys some knowledge bombs. And really all I could find, obviously calcium glycerophosphate, magnesium glycerophosphate yield calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. That's kind of what they're made up of. And the only stuff I could really find online is calcium glycerophosphate is used to neutralize acidic foods and protect teeth from kind of neutralize teeth acidity to protect your teeth from cavities. Magnesium glycerophosphate is really only used to treat people who have very low magnesium levels in their blood, so they have to kind of supplement with a supplemental form of magnesium to boost that up. But I couldn't really find anything that suggested that either of these ingredients should be in a pre-workout supplement. And what I mean by that is I couldn't really find any kind of data or studies or anything that showed that they're going to increase performance or the sorts of things we look for in a pre-workout, increased muscle pump, increased muscular endurance, muscle power, energy, mental focus, any of that sort of stuff. I'm a bit stumped And I don't usually get stumped in raw reviews because I'm usually able to research until I find something, but I wasn't able to find anything on either of these two ingredients. So unfortunately, guys, I really don't know what they're doing in the EndoRUSH. And there's really no point discussing clinical dose and whatnot because we don't know what effect they're in there for and what they're supposed to be doing. Moving right along, we then get into the energy and focus complex, starting with a blend of two different types of caffeine. We have natural caffeine, which is coming from green tea leaf and or green coffee bean. I guess it is based on where BSN can find their natural caffeine at a particular point in time when they're making a particular production run. But either way, it is natural caffeine in a 150 milligram dose. And then we've got synthesized caffeine in the form of caffeine anhydrous, also in a 150 milligram dose. So we have 300 total milligrams of caffeine. Caffeine, of course, is a central nervous system stimulant going to enhance physical energy, reduce fatigue, and boost psychological performance as well. Clinical dose or efficacious dose for most people with caffeine in a pre-workout is 200 to 300 milligrams. We have 300 total milligrams, so it is towards the higher end of that dose. I will say this though, with the combination of the two types of caffeine, and those of you who have used natural caffeine before or had a coffee or tea or anything that has naturally occurring caffeine in it would know there's a vast difference between the feeling you get from caffeine anhydrous, synthetic caffeine, and natural caffeine. The difference is caffeine anhydrous hits you like a freight train, very, very fast, very, very rocky, and kind of like a real spike in energy and then a very quick downer in energy. Whereas natural caffeine onsets a lot slower. It's almost like sustained release caffeine. Onsets a lot slower, doesn't feel like it's hitting you as hard, so you definitely don't get that rush in energy, but much more sustained, and you don't generally get that downer or that crash from it. So it's almost like BSN have gone, you know, we're going to give you the quick hit with the caffeine anhydrous, and then we're going to give you the sustained caffeine, although it's not technically sustained caffeine, it kind of is, as the natural caffeine. And we're going to give you a 50-50 mix of both to get you that 300 milligrams. Moving right along, we then get into the Longan Extract, fruit extract, which is the Euphoria extract, which is also what BSN use in their new fat burner Hypershred, which I did discuss in the Hypershred Raw review. But just to go through it real quick for you guys, we got a 150 milligram dose of the Longan Extract. Longan Extract contains a whole host of active ingredients. This is the first time we've seen it used in a pre-workout supplement, and Hypershred was the first time we saw it used in a fat burner. So obviously BSN have just gone absolutely f***ing ham with this Longan Extract. The thing with the Longan Extract is we know that it yields longanolactone, which is structurally similar to the racetam class of nootropics. So it's a nootropic. It's gonna affect the way that your brain works. And in particular, there's some evidence to suggest that longanolactone boosts cognition in particular. So there's probably, we don't really know, but there's probably some sort of interaction with acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. There's probably some sort of interaction with the neurotransmitter dopamine as well, but there just isn't enough science just yet for us to know exactly how it's working and exactly what it's doing. But we know that's kind of the effect it has of increasing cognition. In terms of the clinical dose, well, firstly, we don't know this Longan extract, this Euphoria extract, we don't know what it's standardized to in terms of the longanolactone, and we really don't know how longanolactone works. So in terms of the clinical dose, we really can't say much because we just don't know. Moving right along to the 15th and final ingredient in this EndoRUSH. And guys, this is where this Australian version differs from the US version. In the US, your 15th and final ingredient is your Himba Bark extract, which is highly, highly illegal in Australia for no good reason. Like many of our supplement ingredients that are highly, highly illegal for no good reason. But we can't have it in Australia. That's the law. It is what it is. So we don't have your Himba Bark extract. We have instead this extract called Lindara Root extract. Well, it's Lindara extract and it comes from the root of the Lindara plant in a 100 milligram dose. Once again, a all new ingredient that I have never seen before, ever, in any type of supplement, let alone a pre-workout supplement. And there really is not a lot of information that I could find on exactly how this extract works either. No scientific studies, no double-blind placebo, like nothing. What I could deduce from my research is that it's used to treat bladder issues, mostly. Used in Chinese, it's a Chinese herb, so it's used in Chinese medicine. Used to treat bladder-related conditions, in particular frequent urination and even incontinence is what it's used to treat. And the way it's usually used is it's not extracted. They usually take the root, and most of the time it's 10 grams of the root, so quite a big dose, and you make a tea out of it and you drink it, and it's supposed to help with the way your bladder functions. Anecdotally, there is some anecdotal evidence that I came across online that suggests that it helps regulate your breathing. It does act as a little bit of a central nervous system stimulant and increases your heart rate, increases blood flow, so a little bit of vasodilation, and induces sweating. All anecdotal, nothing to suggest that we know exactly what the extract is yielding that is going to have that effect, all anecdotal evidence. In terms of the clinical dose, once again, we really don't know much about this extract, viewers at home, so it's very difficult for us to deduce clinical dose and then tell you whether or not it is clinically dosed. Got yourself some artificial colors, some artificial flavors, some stabilizers, some sweeteners, and all the other inactive bits and pieces, about 25%. And that's what's in it. Very, very complex pre-workout supplement, 15 ingredients. A lot of them the first time we've seen them. A lot of them we don't really know how they work. Very complicated pre-workout supplement, which is why I've taken over 20 minutes to go through, to go balls deep in the ingredients for you guys. If you look at EndoRUSH, and you consider the types of effects that we want in our pre-workout supplement, and therefore certain things that the formula is missing, BSN could have done more for muscle power, definitely on paper, something like a betaine, an elevate ATP, a peak ATP, something like that to work synergistically with the creatine monohydrate and the creatine nitrate. Definitely something more for muscular endurance. I mean, the BetaAlanine in a single scoop dose is 50% dosed. So, definitely could have gone the proper dose of BetaAlanine, or top the half dose of BetaAlanine up with some taurine or some creatine orthophosphate or something to help with muscular endurance. Definitely could go something for muscle volume, so a Hydromax, a glycerol monostearate, a GPLC, something along those lines. And then finally, something for mental focus. It does have the Euphoria extract, which I'll talk about the effects when we get to the effects, but there's no single ingredient that directly targets mental focus. There's no choline, there's no huperzine A, there's no tyrosine, N-acetylotyrosine or mucunipurines or anything like that. So there are a few things that it is missing from, a conventional pre-workout point of view, but there are also a lot of things in there that we've never seen before. So it's kind of the trade-off, BSN kind of stepping, I guess, outside of the box and saying, well, let's have a look at some of these new ingredients that we don't really know that much about, and let's be the first to bring them to market, which is always good to see as well. If you're looking for a new pre-workout with new ingredients, that's not just the same recycled old shit that every other company is doing. I mean, BSN have done a pretty good job in bringing a novel new pre-workout to the market. In terms of how it tastes and how it mixes, comes in 4 flavors. Comes in blue raz, which is of course a blue raspberry. Comes in kiwi strawberry. Comes in sour candy, which is actually it's actually an apple. It's a sour apple candy. Finally comes in that there tropical blast. Got myself my personal tub of sour candy, and that's how I know it's apple candy, because I've been using this particular tub. Infamous MassiveJoes Taste and Mixability test about to go down. Got our double wall glass with, now I'm gonna follow the mixability exactly as BSN recommends here, viewers at home. On the label, it says mix, I'm gonna read it for you. Mix 1 scoop with 150 to 175 milliliters of water and consume 15 to 30 minutes prior to workout. I have 175 milliliters of water exactly in this double wall glass. I'm going to take my personal tub of the EndoRUSH in the sour candy, aka the sour apple candy. 1 scoop of this BSN EndoRUSH. Drop this bitch in this bitch. And let it rain, let it rain. A few flicks of the wrist. I'm gonna show you guys how this BSN EndoRUSH mixes. And refresh my memory on how this BSN EndoRUSH tastes, man. All right, that's enough. As you guys can see, pretty damn well mixed. Nothing kind of floating in there, nothing, no debris going through the middle. It mixes pretty damn well. The one thing that I will say, and you guys can probably see it if I move my hand out of the way, you probably can, yeah, I guess you can. You can kind of see that it does settle towards the bottom. There you go. Now it's coming. It's all coming through. It's all raining. It's raining down here. It's coming through. All of those active ingredients are settling to the bottom of the glass. So the sinkers, it does mix pretty well, but the sinkers do accumulate, especially if you let it sit there for a while. So I would go so far as to say blendable is required. For this here BSN EndoRUSH, let me refresh my memory on how this sour candy, aka green apple, tastes, man. BSN have done it again. They've done it again, viewers. They do not around when it comes to flavoring their supplements. They are not here to fighters when it comes to flavoring their supplements. EndoRUSH is no exception. The flavors are all really, really good. Definitely, the sour candy is definitely a real sweet apple. Definitely a candy-based flavor, as too is the blue raz. That's a real kind of candy, raspberry, bluey, lemonade-y type flavor. The kiwi strawberry is much more fruit-based, and the tropical blast is also much more fruit-based. So if you want fruit-based flavors, kiwi strawberry or tropical blast. If you want candy-based flavors, blue raspberry or sour candy. It really depends on your personal preference. But keep in mind the sour candy is an apple candy-based flavor. The one thing that I will say, the flavors are all exceptional, but I really think they messed up on the amount of water that you mix it with. The flavors are very strong in 175 mils of water. I got to suggest you guys at least double that shit. At least go 350, if not half a liter, 500 mils of water, and it just dilutes the flavor. You still get the really nice, exceptional flavor, but it's just not as strong, so it's much more pleasant to drink. And the other thing is, trying to mix 13.5 grams of powder in 175 mils of water, that's really why you get these sinkers down the bottom. If you double that amount of water, it mixes up pretty much perfectly, and you actually don't get that many sinkers. So I would at least double what BSN's recommended on the label with how much water to mix it with, and yeah, you are absolutely winning. In terms of the effects, because that's what you're taking this shit for, viewers at home. We can sit here and go through all of the damn active ingredients until the fucking cows come home. You're taking this pre-workout for the effects. So let me tell you about them. Let me address the effects that we generally look for in a pre-workout. Let me address for you guys muscle pump, muscle power, muscular endurance, muscular endurance, energy, and mental focus or psychological effects of your pre-workout. Starting with muscle pump, quite good, nothing exceptional. Definitely a noticeable muscle pump, but definitely if muscle pump is a big deal for you with your pre-workout, you're going to want to stack this EndoRUSH with a non-stimulant based pump inducing supplement just to maximize that pump. But the pumps are decent. Muscle power, Once again, quite good, nothing exceptional. You can definitely tell that, there's less than a clinical dose of creatine and there's no betaine, there's no LF-ATP, nothing like that. So noticeable increase in muscle power. Once again, nothing exceptional. Muscular endurance, definitely lacking. That's probably the one thing that this EndoRUSH really falls down in, is the muscular endurance. And it's not surprising. You've got 50% of a clinical dose of beta-alanine and that's it for muscular endurance. So the one thing that I've noticed, I've trained on this EndoRUSH now 4 times, so a bunch of different muscle groups. And the one thing that I've noticed consistently is the lack of muscular endurance. That's definitely, definitely, if that's a big deal for you, you're gonna wanna add some extra beta-alanine to this EndoRUSH. If muscular endurance is a big deal for you. Energy, really quite good. Surprisingly, really quite good with that blend of the quick release caffeine anhydrous and the more sustained release natural caffeine. The energy is quite good, very smooth and consistent throughout your whole workout. It's definitely not the type of energy that like blows your head off in the first half hour of your workout and then you feel like shit halfway through your workout. It's quite a nice energy blend, to be honest with you guys. And I've taken obviously a lot of pre-workout supplements that use just caffeine anhydrous, and then pre-workout supplements that use just natural caffeine. And I think BSN have done a really good job here with combining the two, because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get that short, sharp rush in energy, but then you get the sustained release natural caffeine coming through towards the end. So the energy is really quite nice. No crash at all. In fact, you feel pretty damn good after your workouts. Of those 4 workouts, pretty much after every one, I've come back to MJHQ and busted out some more work because I've just been like, I feel good. I feel in the zone. Definitely no sort of crash or post-workout dump or anything like that. The final effect, mental focus. And this is the one that I really want to focus on for you guys. I think that the best way that I can put this with the EndoRUSH is, it's definitely not tunnel vision focus. It's definitely not blinkers are on, in the zone, gonna destroy the weights and nothing else in the world matters. It's definitely not that feeling. What it is a feeling of well-being and a feeling of elevated mood. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've never taken a pre-workout supplement that has had the sort of effect on feeling of well-being and mood as I have with this BSN EndoRUSH. Never. Like nothing has come close to this BSN EndoRUSH. It is just, I don't know how it's justified. I can't, looking at the ingredients, unless there's something going on with the Longan Extract and the Lindara Extract and the extracts that I really don't know a whole lot about, and we really don't know how they work. I don't know where it's coming from, but the feeling of well-being and elevated mood is like nothing I have ever experienced with a pre-workout supplement, viewers at home. It is like serious next. It is like I've taken a shitload of Mucuna Purians, got a lot of L-Dopa floating around, and I feel like $1,000,000. It is just, I would go so far as to say it's the best feeling of well-being I have ever experienced with a pre-workout supplement. I would go so far as to say it's the best feeling of well-being in a pre-workout supplement we have seen thus far. I really would. And it blows my mind because every single time I've taken it, same thing. There's been a few times, probably 2 of the 4 times I've taken it so far, I've gone to the gym and I'm like, man, I really don't feel like training. I've had a long day at work. I didn't sleep well. I'm tired. I take the EndoRUSH and I feel like a rock star. It's a little bit of Post Malone for you guys. It's incredible. And I don't know how, I don't know why, but it just is. And everyone that's trained on it here at MJHQ have said exactly the same thing. So somehow BSN have come up with a blend, combination of these extracts with the natural caffeine, with the anhydrous, with whatever the hell else is going on in this EndoRUSH to deliver that sort of feeling. And it's really, really quite nice, guys. Really a very nice pre-workout to train on. I will tell you guys, I have played around with the dosing. First time I trained on it, 1 scoop. I then went to 1.5 scoops. That was a little bit too much stimulant effect for me, so I bumped it down to 1.25, and I've had that the last 2 times I've trained on it. And for me personally, 1.25 scoops, or about, I've been weighing it out, so it's about 17 grams, is like the sweet spot for me. Obviously, if you want more of the pump ingredients, more of the beta-alanine, more of the stimulants, you can go to the 1.5 scoops. I wouldn't recommend going more than 1.5 because you're getting a shitload of caffeine in particular. But you can definitely go to 1.5 scoops for sure. But for me personally, 1.25 was, let me get this, that's better. Was like, right, this emoji. You guys know, this emoji right here, perfect for me. Couple of things to finish off with. Side effects, none experienced. However, if you are sensitive to caffeine, consider that there are 300 milligrams of total caffeine per scoop, so you might want to start with half a scoop and work your way up. Apart from that, no side effects reported at MassiveJoes so far. Stackability can be stacked with any non-stimulant, pump or muscle power or nootropic or any of those things that we discussed it was missing. You can stack them with any of those. I just wouldn't advise stacking it with anything with any extra stimulants in it, because 300 milligrams per scoop, especially if you're taking 1.25 scoops, you're up around the 400 milligrams of caffeine, total caffeine, so it is going to be quite stimmy. Final thing I'm going to say for you guys, price and value for money. BSN have really just come to the Australian market and knocked the ball out of the park when it comes to price and value for money on this EndoRUSH. 30 serve tub in the Australian market, which most people are going to be taking one scoop, 1 serve. If you're like me, you might take a little bit more, 1.25. If you're a nutcase, you might take 1.5. So you're talking about a 30 serve tub, a true 30 serve tub. Retails in the Australian market for $39.95 Australian dollars, which is like just unheard of in the pre-workout category. It equates to $1.33 per scoop. Even if you're taking 1.5 scoops, that brings the price up, brings the price up to $2 per scoop. I mean, most pre-workouts on the Australian market today are $3 plus per serve. So, BSN have really just put their foot down and made a fucking statement in the Australian market for pre-workouts with this EndoRUSH. You are not going to find, it's simply unheard of for a very well put together pre-workout supplement to be $1.33 per serve, and even at bumping those dosages up to 1.5 scoops at $2 per serve if you're taking 1.5 scoops per serve. It's just simply unheard of in the Australian market. So guys, if you are in the market for a new pre-workout using a bunch of novel ingredients that we have not seen in a pre-workout formula before, and you want a pre-workout that is exceptional value for money, literally you cannot lose. At $40 a tub, you cannot lose with this BSN EndoRUSH. It's like, there's no risk. It's $40 for a fucking pre-workout. Unbelievable. And you want a pre-workout that is going to deliver a feeling of well-being that we have never seen before in a pre-workout supplement. You got to get yourself some of this BSN EndoRUSH. Guys, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn your post notifications on, both on your mobile, your cell phone, and your desktop PC, so you don't miss a beat when it comes to the MassiveJoes YouTube channel. And guys, that is MassiveJoes long-ass raw review on the all-new BSN EndoRUSH in the house. And I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Stay